All right, welcome guys. It's week 6, and this was a big week. We talked a lot about a lot of good topics today. This week and coming up, which I know you haven't gotten some of them. But we started out talking about limiting factors, and I have to say, it doesn't matter how far you are in the journey, you're always going to have some kind of limiting factor. Now, those limiting factors will change. They can change, or they can stay the same, because we like to say you're going to have to fight this battle more than once to win it, and it's true. The same is for me as it was from whenever I first started my journey. It's, I still love pizza, and I still love, that hasn't changed, and I still love cake, and I'm still going to eat it if it's in front of me.
Sure.
So, those limiting factors, we asked you to try to name a limiting factor that you thought of for you personally. A limiting factor is really anything that is keeping you from completing a habit or an action that is you're trying to do in order to get to your goal, whatever it is. So it can be, a big part of it is your environment and what is around you and how you build that environment. So that includes like the people around you, the people you work with, what kind of influence are those people putting on you and your choices. Because a lot of people don't think of the people around them as influencing them, but you are going to become, 5 people? 5 people that you are around the most, whether it's family, friends, whoever. You will become most like them, and they you. So, and even if you can't change your group, you will eventually probably influence them if you stay the course.
Yeah, that's a good perspective to look at it. Is one, like if it's a really bad situation, like bad, think worst to the worst kind of stuff, like domestic violence, that kind of stuff. Like you would remove yourself from that situation. But we're talking about on the nutritional level side of things.
Right.
So.
Like my husband eats like crap.
Yeah.
And he orders pizza twice a week. And like I said, I love pizza.
Love you, Brian. But
good thing you can't see this.
But so like something like that, like I would say that you have worn off on him. Like there are things that he eats now that he never would eat.
Or he doesn't pressure me to do. Now, I'm not saying he does pressure me all the time to.
Let's go get ice cream.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's go to brunch. So you never, have, cheat meals with me or whatever. I was like, no, I'm just thinking about my 20%.
Yeah.
And so there are times where he still tries to like guilt me or shame me into eating, like food shaming, but. Having said that, there are a lot of times now that he doesn't even go there because this is the way that I am. This is how I'm going to eat, and that's just it is me. And so he's not going to fight that. And your family members or your friends will become that way, but it can seem really, really hard, especially in the beginning when you're doing these big changes and you're almost making them feel bad about what they're doing.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I remember there was a study that we read in a sociology class where it talked about 5 people going to a bar, and one guy decides that he's not going to drink anymore, but he's going to go to the bar.
Yeah.
Well, the other people are still drinking and eating bad, and he's like ordering a salad and ordering water, but he still wanted to hang out with the people. But what he found out is like what he had in common with that group was really the alcohol and stuff like that. And when he made the change, the group kind of ostracized him and was like, well, we don't want to hang out anymore.
Like shamed him.
Pretty much. And that happens in our world. Like if you don't want to get picked on, I want you to go to Subway, order a Subway sandwich, order chips and a Coke, and eat that every day. And make sure you have the chips visible.
If nobody's going to say anything about that meal.
They will not say a word to you. But if you flip that and you have apple slices, salad, and you're drinking water, there's going to be a comment made about it.
Are you on a diet?
Yeah. And that stuff happens, and that's what Jamie's getting at about, just know that your environment can be part of that to where...
Yeah.
And you've got to set it up. Like you've got to do your best to set up your environment. That's why one of the first things we talk about is the kitchen clean out, like looking in your pantry and getting rid of it and making a safe spot. So making your environment more safe. Make the people around you more safe by making them aware like, hey, I don't eat those kind of things. And just know that it may be coming that they're going to say something, that shames you or whatever. And just know how to deal with that and know how you're going to deal with that.
Right. And, you know, you touched on kind of preparation and that whole kitchen clean out and prepping your environment. That's just a plan, a way to cover your bases where you're not going to be caught off guard in a situation where, like at your home, you know, we talk about if it's in your house, you will eat it. Like,
I hate Twizzlers, and we had Twizzlers in the house one time. I don't even know how they got in there. And I was like, God, this is horrible.
Halloween,
but I kind of wanted something sweet.
Yeah.
I do not like it, but I ate some of them.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you are. Limiting factors do not discriminate.
Because willpower, like you're saying, it gets down to willpower with not doing preparation, not setting up your environment, not planning.
Right.
For
You're
people
always
that you're
relying on willpower.
And it is a fleeting resource, man.
Yeah, because there's going to be bad days. There is going to be days where you're just like, I don't care. I deserve this.
Yep.
And so then what are you going to do if, say you have one of those bad days and you're like, oh, I deserve a sweet bite or whatever, pizza or whatever it is. If it's not in your house, it's going to be really hard to get to.
Yeah.
And you're more likely than not going to end up eating it just because it is not in your environment.
That's like what you said about not having it there. There was the book, Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about how soldiers coming back from Vietnam, don't quote me on all these stats, but soldiers coming back from Vietnam, 18% of the force that was over there had some shape, form, and fashion addiction to some type of opiate. Heroin was the number of choice. When they came back to the States, there wasn't a lot of heroin there, so they couldn't get it. So they said like the soldiers that 18%, like over half went cold turkey and quit. Which with heroin, that is ridiculous. It's
because
very
of their
addictive.
Environment.
Yeah, because of their environment. They come to the States, it's not there at that time.
And it was a completely different situation, like, you know, that high stress, whatever environment, which stress triggers all kinds of, you know, coping mechanisms. And so then they come back to the States and it's like, this is a completely different area, completely different visuals.
Not getting shot at every day.
Yes, and then it's not as easy to get to.
Yep, had to make effort, so people are like,
and
I'm
so
done.
Then, so environment is huge.
Yep.
And also preparation is huge. So a limiting factor, it could be one, your environment, people you're around, but then it can also be what you're not doing. Like what you're not doing the day before, you know, in order to have a good next day.
Yeah.
You know, for example, last Saturday I had to work the gym. I needed to come in here and do some of the I Am Versus homework because I was going to have to work, and then they had the yoga or whatever. I just didn't have time to do the homework that I needed to do. So I had to come in early. Well, I cooked my breakfast the night before.
Yeah.
Brought it in, did my little homework, ate it here. You know, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been able to I probably wouldn't have gotten up to do my I Am Versus workout. I would have been mad at myself because I didn't. And then, you know, wouldn't have had breakfast. So it spirals out of control. So we asked you to kind of think about a hypothetical perfect day, because we obviously know not every day is perfect, but what would you have to do in order to have that perfect day? And it ask any question. No question is off limits. It's more like, you know, well, I wouldn't need to talk to Sally Sue because she always talks about donuts and cake and whatever, and that makes me hungry. Or I don't need to talk to this person or have coffee break with them because they're always, you know, stressed out and stressing me out,
gossiping about
or whatever
or
it is.
whatever,
It could be on that side of things, or it could be preparation as in literal of like, I need to, you know, pack my lunchbox or, you know, whatever it is the day before, you know, if you don't have those things in place already. So limiting factors are in any kind of variation you can think of, anything that hinders you from making the good choice. So really take that assignment serious, and then also ask your coach or get the conversation going, because we all have limiting factors that everybody has to work around, and they do change from time to time. That brings us into the next lesson, the emotional versus rational.
Well, you already touched on it a little bit, and I kind of grinned when you said it. It's because you were like, I deserve this.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, we always talk about, you're like, I deserve a lollipop or I deserve a donut.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't treat yourself with food. You're not
a dog.
That's like our number one go-to. Good puppy. But so the emotional side versus the rational side. So think of it this way. The emotional side of your body, or of your brain, is like an elephant. It's big, it's massive, and it's very strong. And it has a good side and it has a bad side. It's not just all bad. So let's say that, I'm a strange dude and Jamie's son Bishop is we're walking in Walmart and I reach over and grab him by the arm. I'm just a stranger.
I'm be like,
the emotional side of her, the hair is going to stand up on the back of her neck and she's going to go into immediately like WTF mode. Like, I am ready to fight. Like, who is this cat?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do what I need to do.
That's a good way.
That's the good side. The other side is like what you said, like, I'm about to eat an entire bag of popcorn and go through this thing because I had a bad day and so said something about me and it made me upset, and I'm going to eat this because it makes me feel better, and then you know what? I'm going to get ice cream, and then after that I'm going to drink myself into a coma because I don't want to think about this anymore. That's the same emotional side.
You just gave your 3 snaps in a Z-formation.
Then the rational side is this little rider that's on top of this big elephant, right? And sometimes he doesn't have a chance. Now he knows, man, he has the information. You have the knowledge. You know that choosing water over a Coke is better. You know that choosing a salad over Cheetos is better. You know, but you can't apply it. So that little guy is trying his dangest to steer that big elephant wherever he needs to go. And that's why what we touched on earlier about the environment, of having your path or your environment very clear of obstacles, so it doesn't tempt that 2,000-pound beast into going in directions he doesn't need to go. Because the rider is trying his dangest with gathering information and trying to put it into practice. But he needs help, as much help as he can give him. So you clearing the path is what's going to help that.
The action plan, and that's what planning ahead, clear the path, for those choices to just become habitual. We talk about habits. We want to be on autopilot of those thought processes. So eventually that, rational rider is like, oh, yes, this is just what we do, and the elephant understands this is just what we do. Correct. So it does take some training.
And the training elephant side of it, I'm glad, that's a perfect word.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Click with Adam Sandler? And he had a remote.
No.
And
I remember it, but I don't
even think I ever watched it all the way through. But during the movie, he finds a remote that can rewind, fast forward, and hit pause and stuff. That's what you have to get good at. With the irrational side and the emotional side is literally hitting pause to train yourself. And then you'll get better. But it's like you feel that rush of emotion, or you feel that trigger coming on, or you feel whatever it may be. You literally have to hit the pause button in life to say, okay, what do I need to do, not what do I want to do? Right. And that goes into what you were talking about earlier before we came on, of a short-term gratification versus a long-term solution or sacrifice or success.
Yeah, because that's what it boils down to, is like, yes, you will get that first that emotional gratification like really quickly, but then you're like mad at yourself.
Yeah, the guilt comes
afterwards.
on.
So that's the emotional side winning. If you're the rational, you're going to make a short-term sacrifice, and the moment will pass, and then you'll feel okay. Now, it may take you going to bed for it to pass, like at night, like bottomless pit. That's what I was last night. I literally had to go like, okay, get out of the kitchen, stop eating everything, go drink a bottle of water and just go to bed. Yeah. There are going to be those days where you feel like that, but you get better at being practiced at talking to yourself and self-talk. Not saying that you're going to win every time, but the wins become more than the losses, and that's how you make progress. So
short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah,
and
it changes though. It doesn't. It's not as
it doesn't
hard.
Sting.
Yes,
as bad.
Those sacrifices don't sting as bad the longer you go, because you understand what's on the other side of it,
and you get better at it.
Yeah,
you just adapt.
And you it's like I can say no to certain desserts or alcohol or whatever.
No problem.
Because I want something else more. Like I want to feel better the next day so I can function, and maybe I want to do good on my workout or whatever it is.
Or I want to, like, for some people it's like, and this like breaks my heart, but they're like, I'm not getting in a family photo. Well, I don't want you to feel that way anymore. So that's that short, like, let's fight all those short-term bad feelings. So in 4 years, like you're not scared to get in a photo with your family anymore because of your size or because of whatever it may be.
Yes.
You know, like those are the deep things that like I'm like, oh man, if you just knew
got to the other side.
When you're 85 years old
Yeah.
and you're laying in your deathbed, you're not going to look back and regret and go, God, I really should have eaten that sleeve of Oreos. You can skip them.
Yes.
You really can. Like you can do it, and it just takes practice to do that.
Yes. And that's a good point to make now, because this is week 6, and this is a big week for people on whether or not they're going to stick with it, keep going, and like kind of fight through that plateau or that ickiness that, you know, they're like, ooh, I really want to go back to my old way. Like, I just want to not know. I want to not care.
Yeah.
You know, this is the kind of the make or break week wherever, you know, people will start sliding off or, you know, hit their stride. You know, you've gotten your habits. We're getting well into the plant habits for sure. I know level 1 is 4+ plants per day. Level 2 is 6+ veggies per day, so it's like 2 per meal if they're eating 3 times a day.
Some big shit.
You know, that's a lot of plants for a lot of people. That's more than most people eat. Okay, you know, so it is this part where you're starting to hit a stride where you need to go the distance and start thinking of this as there's not an end point. I'm just going to get better at it.
Yeah, the one thing that you said, this was last week, I think I overheard you speaking to somebody. You're like, okay, cool, hold on. If I could take you from where you are right now
Yes.
and go and get you to your end goal, what would change after that snap?
Right.
Nothing. You would immediately be like, oh my God, I'm here. I need to maintain. I need to eat this thing.
Yeah.
I need to do 90-10 or 80-20 and hold on. And we're like, that's exactly what you need to be doing now.
Well, it was a client that was, you know, frustrated with their, you know, plateau.
Yeah.
And that's how progress happens. It's kind of like this. Like it's a little graph that goes boop, 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 boop. But you keep kind of going trajectory, going up.
The sound effects are great.
Yeah, I wish I could do a little line, like draw on the screen. Anyway, back it up. But progress happens in these kind of waves, but you're always kind of moving up that, you know, progress ladder. But the thing is like what you're doing now is going to look the exact same, or we could say you could probably be a little bit more loosey-goosey when you get there.
It's easier to maintain.
It's easier to maintain than it is to lose or build or whatever your goal is, but you're going to be doing the same habits. Like healthy people eat lots of plants. They drink lots of water. They eat enough protein to support their body. So these are the habits that you're doing right now and practicing to keep the results, you know, and you shouldn't be starving hungry. You should not be miserable. Yes, you may feel a little uncomfortable with changing your, you know, schedule or strategies to make these habits fit in your lifestyle, but that over time and that practice, it gets easier. You know, it becomes your new normal, and that's what you're after. So expect growing pains. Expect some, like the week 6 lull or blues, you know, and if you're having a really hard time with it, take week 1 pictures, take pictures of week 6, and put them together. Because I guarantee you will be pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
But you know, we can go on forever about emotional versus rational. Let's get into the 80-20 rule, because I know that's coming up. I think y'all may get that tomorrow. But a big lesson is what is a treat and what is a cheat meal. And we live in the 80-20. So the 80% of the time we want you hitting your habits, we want you drinking your water, eating your plants, your protein, and doing that at a consistent basis. That's what the progress compliance score is in your app. 20% of the time you've got some wiggle room. So what does that look like? What is wiggle room? We've kind of broken it down to 3 treats equal a full-blown cheat, or
Define treat.
Okay, treat would be like a glass of wine with your already habit-filling meal. Okay. A little handful of chocolate.
I went to a wedding shower or an engagement shower or whatever those things are called.
Yes.
And I just had like one little bite of this and one little bite of that and like a couple of bites of that.
Well, it
was all like finger food style stuff. It wasn't vegetables.
I don't know what your little bit looks like. But if you were to put that all on one plate, what would it look like?
But it was only like one of each of the things. It was one chicken tender, and then it had a little honey mustard, like a little.
Yeah.
I'm talking like a little bit of honey mustard with it, and then I had one of those little like tuna salad sandwiches. It was really good. I mean, I had two.
Okay.
And then I had one piece of like the smallest piece of cake that you could find.
That could probably be a cheat meal.
A cheat meal?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding
But
me. I thought all of that together was one treat.
It's totally in your 20%.
Okay.
You know, that would be fine. You know, if you did that like once a week or something like that.
But what if I did that like I had 3 showers that weekend, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Because I'm kind of popular and a lot of people like me.
You'd probably dip into past 20%. If
How
you did
so?
That 3
they were
times
like
a week.
so small. Like if you would have been there, like you would have laughed. They were small.
I don't know what but okay, this is what I'm saying. Hypothetically, be an adult about what your choices are. So if you're going to eat little treats all sprinkled throughout the week, that could be...
But they're small.
Even if they're small. Like I'm talking small, like a little dessert, a cookie.
That adds up, dude.
Yeah, all the little things add up, and that can dip way past your 20%.
Yes.
Now, so if you're not feeling like you have progress or where you should be, ask yourself a serious question. Are you having those little treats, those little handfuls of chocolate, that little candy piece here, going through the break room? Oh, I just ate one donut hole at church. Or, you know, how many times do you do that a week? So, you know, we have given you, or we are going to give you, I think it's on Sunday, you get it, or Saturday, the meal compliance chart.
Love it.
Love this assignment. I want all of you to use this assignment, you know, on your past food logs. If you have been filling out your food logs, great. You can go back and fill out the meal compliance chart. But basically, the meal compliance chart is going to give you a percentage of compliance of what you're doing. So, and it varies. So, it has instructions on how to fill out the meal compliance chart if you're a level 1 or a level 2. So you're going to look at it as like, okay, I had a compliant meal. I met all the habits of a level 2 without any treats or cheats, okay, without any blips.
Yep.
And then you would get a point.
Star.
Yeah, a star, whatever I can't remember what the symbol is that we put in there. But if you say you had a full habit meal of like 2 veggies, your protein, you had your, you know, healthy fats, but then you had a glass of wine, you would get a little X. That would be an X for that meal, okay?
Because you weren't compliant.
Because you weren't compliant in, you know, the you know, non-treat area.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then after you add up all your meals for the week, you're gonna divide that number by whatever and get a percentage score, and that's gonna tell you.
And it's gonna shock you.
And some of you may be like 90%, and you'll be like, I am killing it.
Yep. If you're 90% and you still haven't had results since week 1, you need to reach out to your coach because you may be lying to yourself. That's just I'm being silly. But like we've had clients before that they go, yeah, dude, I'm like 90%. I'm like, but you had cake. Yeah, I did. And then I had wine, and then I had this, and I went to a crawfish bowl, and I got a little hammered, and then on Sunday I had lemon icebox pie. And you're like, okay, those 5 are going to pull you down to 70%.
Right,
like,
yes.
Oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. So just make sure if you get confused a little bit, reach out to your coach.
Yeah, and you'll have this meal compliance chart the remainder of the challenge. I highly encourage you to use it. The coaches use it sometimes too, because when people are a little confused about what is going on, it's another tool to help you figure it out and figure out the holes that may be, you know, sabotaging you. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Big week. Read those lessons. If you haven't read the lessons, please, please, please go back and read Limiting Factors, Emotional versus Rational. All that stuff is really good, just brain cleansing things. But if you have any questions, remember, reach out on the Facebook group or to your coach. And we will see y'all for week 7 next week.
Clear the path for your elephant.